a company naturally ends up on the typical architecture on the left unless a individual person thinks through the whole thing and comes up with a comprehensive vision for how the uh, system platform should be architected. So, um, getting getting to the simple architecture has two major benefits. Number one, increased uptime. Number two, decreased administrative time. Okay, so let's look at why the typical architecture occurs. So first of all, you see the two hosts. This comes from the plant manager. The plant manager has experiences of production being lost or disrupted or having to discard product. And the end result, he's told, is just the server had a problem. So he puts this requirement on the project of there needs to be two servers. So we end up with host one, host two. Then the IT folks want to be involved on the SCADA project because it has Microsoft Windows um, involved in it. So they put in their standard solution that involves a SAN, which actually negates the plant manager's requirement because they don't want, they say server, but really what they want is they don't want a single piece of hardware failing to bring down their system, which the SAN is. And when you have a SAN problem, your system goes down. So there's that irony there. Okay, but moving on. The next thing is just the computer names. So the computer names end up being long because they get named in meetings, and the lots of people give input on it, and it just lacks a comprehensive vision for how the system should operate, right? You know, we're going to go for simplicity. So the problem with long computer names is it gets references thousands of times throughout the system's life, and it causes problems having typos because humans are interacting with these systems. So every every time you ping the computer, every time you remote desktop to the computer, you write a script, you configure a computer name text field, you hook up clients, even just emailing or text messaging coworkers about the system, having those long computer names creates issues. A subtle thing, but a problem that will happen many times on the system. Okay, so let's move on to the simple system here. So the key thing is the dev desktop, which is a independent piece of hardware. It's simple because it's one piece of hardware. It doesn't have any virtualization, and we have all the software installed there. Our Galaxy Com Servers, Historian Report Server. So it's not a terminal server. It's just a normal single computer. So this this works, you know, for small systems, right? So typically I'll see this for 25,000 tags or less, 10 clients or less. But it could work for more, and it could not work for less, right? You would be surprised how many systems you can run off of a single computer in a pinch, right? Just for a few days. I work tech support. You know, I've done this a number of times. The disaster recovery plan didn't exist or didn't work, and we get them stood up on even just a laptop or a desktop, and you can run for like that for a bit, right? So yeah, that's the dev desktop. One of its biggest advantages is it's an independent system. So a problem you have with the plant managers, uh, host one, host two, you tell them you got two physical servers, it's still one computer system, right? It's one computer system with redundant components. Whereas in the simple architecture, we have two independent computer systems here. So anything can go wrong with that host, right? You can have DNS issues with that host, from it being multi-server. Maybe something's wrong with virtualization. The underlying storage is full. So a botched upgrade. So this is a big one. Upgrades can be an unpleasant life memory when they go wrong, right? And all-nighters and angry people, all that kind of stuff. So having two independent systems helps with that. You could upgrade your dev desktop first. Make sure the config files don't choke on anything and they work and you're upgraded, you're on the new version, things are working. And then you can move on to the main host, right? And it's VM, so you can snapshot it, you can roll back. And you still, if you forget to snapshot, if you totally screw up the host, you still have the dev desktop and operations can run off of that. Okay. So uptime increases because for two sub reasons here. You have two independent systems. Okay, that's one reason. That's actually not where you get your biggest gains, because it's very rare that you actually have a motherboard fail on the host or a ransomware event. You know, they happen in the news all the time, but actually at your factory, those are rare events. And if you do have a ransomware event, you know, if you had to rebuild something, that dev desktop, you could rebuild in 2 hours versus the virtual machine. Hopefully all the automatic stuff works, but if it doesn't work and you have to rebuild from scratch, that's an overnighter. But anyway, your real uptime gains are just from having a simpler system, and there's less human errors in it, right? So by having less components, less moving parts, right? You're not failing things over and doing all this kind of stuff. You just get more uptime. And this isn't theoretical. I've done this on a number of systems. And I've made it 7 years without a reboot. So system running, collecting data, not a second of data loss, no interruptions to the operator. And that's what everybody really wants, and it feels so impossible. But you just have to think it through and approach it with simplicity, right? So yeah, you want to go 7 years because you just want the system to run until you do a major upgrade, right? And that's during planned downtime, and maybe it's a week of struggling with things, but it's all planned. The plant's down anyways. And then you run another 7 years, you know, of uptime. So, yeah, hopefully that gives you a vision you can work towards. It'll be an uphill struggle to get people to remove things within your company. But you could just start with adding the dev desktop. People do go for that way easier, because, you know, if your main system goes down, you can run off the dev desktop, and then, you know, hopefully you don't have an incident in your system and stuff. But if you did, and the dev desktop saved people, you'd have a lot more persuasion with people of like, hey, look, this does work. Dev desktop, it does work, right? Maybe you got to have a lead operator in there on it, and he's got to radio people. And it's, you know, it's an unpleasant day for operations, but you're still making your product and fulfilling your obligations to your customers and that kind of thing. So, yeah. And then for the bigger systems, over 25,000 tags, I really can't, you know, just give you a design over a YouTube video. You have to, you know, feel free if you know me, feel free to reach out and I can help, but you'll have to, it's the right look to remove things in your system and simplify. simplify them down, right? So, okay, good luck.